How to make an easy glow squid farm in Minecraft. These are the resources you will need for this farm. And this is how much glow ink you will get if you stand AFK in this farm for about 1 hour. So anyways, let's get into it. Now before we get started on building this farm, there are a couple important things to know. First is the glow squids will only spawn under Y level 30 in Minecraft, meaning you will most likely have to build this underground in a cave. And the second important thing to know is that glow squids will only spawn if the farm is 100% dark, meaning you can have no form of light sources nearby. So anyways, now that you know that, let's get started on building the farm. Alright, so the first step to this farm is obviously to find yourself somewhere to build it. Now, like I mentioned, glow squids can only spawn under Y level 30, so this means you will need to get yourself underground. And once you've gotten yourself underground, you have two options as to where to build this farm. One is that you can locate yourself a big cave like this and simply build it in this cave. However, for the farm to work, if you build it for example right here, you will have to remove the nearby lava sources, that way no light shines into the farm. And building it out in the open like this can be quite dangerous, as other mobs will spawn near the farm and can potentially kill you while you're building it. So the second option for building this farm is to dig yourself into the wall, for example, and dig yourself out a big room to then build a farm in there. And I would actually recommend you choose the second option for building this farm. Alright guys, so I've just broken myself down underground, almost at bedrock level, so if I break myself a bit down I should be at bedrock. And what you will have to do now if you're building this into the wall or underground is that you will have to break yourself out a room that's 24 by 24 and 10 blocks tall. This means that if I want to build a farm somewhere in here, that means that I'll have to start right here and then break 23 more blocks going this way, and then 23 this way, and then 10 blocks up, as in 8 more from where I'm standing. So anyways, if you're building this underground, just break yourself out a 24 by 24 room that's 10 blocks tall. Or if you're building this in a cave, just skip a bit forward.
A few moments later.
And boom, once you've broken out the room, if you are breaking out the room, you will have something that looks like this, so a big space. So anyways, to start it on get farm, and by the way, the steps on building the farm is completely the same no matter if you're building this in a cave or of course in a broken out room. So anyways, to start on this farm, you will have to head into any of the corners of the room you've just broken out and then count yourself 5 blocks going diagonally inwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then once you've gotten 5 blocks diagonally in, build yourself 3 blocks going upwards. So 1, 2, 3. And if you of course placed any blocks right there to count inwards, you can of course destroy those. Also, once you have placed these 3 blocks going upwards, destroy the 2 bottom ones. Now from the block you have right here, you should have 4 blocks until you get into both of these wall sides, and of course 4 more blocks until you get to the diagonal corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Or of course if you're building this in a big open room, simply select any area and then build yourself 3 blocks going upwards, and then of course destroy the 2 bottom blocks. So anyways, what you will have to do now is expand this block by 15 more blocks going to the other wall or to the other side. So simply just build 15 blocks going out from any of the sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then once you've done this, rotate yourself to the left and then build yourself 15 more blocks going in the opposite direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then once you've gotten to this side, rotate yourself left again and then build yourself 15 more blocks going the other way. And the pillar you should now be building outwards should be built the same way as the first pillar. So now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And once your build is going outwards, you will now have to link up this last pillar you just built with the first pillar you just built. So you can now simply link them up with 14 blocks in between them. So what you should have now is a big square like this. So anyways, what you will have to do now is fill in this square with solid blocks. And this can of course be built out of pretty much any kind of block. Just fill in this square with blocks. And boom, once you've done that, you should now have a 16 by 16 platform. So anyways, once you've done this, head back to the first place where you started building this farm, which for me, because my entrance to this farm is right here. You will now have to place yourself a double chest under these 2 first blocks you placed right here, pretty much like this. Then place 2 hoppers going into this chest from above. So what you should have now is 2 hoppers under these 2 corner blocks with then a chest under those hoppers. And what you will have to do now is build yourself 3 more blocks going out from this block right here to the right. So 1, 2, 3. Then you will have to destroy the 2 blocks that's above the hoppers. So what you should have now is something that looks like this. Then once you've done that, place yourself a block to the right of this chest, and then place yourself a block going down from the middle block in between these 3 blocks right here, pretty much like this. Then after you've done that, you will now have to stand right here and then place yourself a comparator looking out from this last hopper, and that's also looking into this block right here. Then head in front of this block and then place yourself a redstone torch pretty much on the side of this block that's being looked into by the comparator. Then after you've done that, head to the top right here and then place yourself 3 redstone dust above all of these blocks, and these should now be powered on. So anyways, what you will have to do now is get started on the rail and minecart system that will of course be picking up all the glow ink that will be created by this farm. So anyways, the first step to this is to place yourself 2 powered rails above these hoppers. Then once you've done that, continuing this line going this way, build yourself 5 normal railings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then place yourself 2 powered rails right here, and then place yourself 7 normal railings after that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what should happen now is they reach the end right here. So what you will have to do is place yourself 7 more railings going the opposite way, or kind of back to the first place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then place yourself 2 2 powered rails and then place yourself 7 normal rails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And of course once you get to this side, this powered rail will hook up with this normal rail. So what you will have to do is temporarily break this rail and then simply just continue the same step going this way. So place a normal rail right here, then 6 more until you get to pretty much the same side, then 2 powered rails and then just normal rails again. Then of course head back to the front right here and replace this powered rail right here. And what you will have to do now is pretty much just continue this step all above this platform. So rotate this railing around and place 6 more rails, as in 7 in total, 2 powered rails and 7 normal railings, and then just continue this until you get to the other side. And boom, so once you've gotten to the final line, what you will have right here is that the railings will end right here. So what you will have to do is replace this final railing with a powered rail, and then you will have to place yourself a solid block going out from a powered rail. So whenever the hopper minecart hits this railing or kind of goes on this railing and hits this block, you will be sent back again. So anyways, what you will have to do now is of course power all these powered rails. So firstly place yourself a lever on this block right here, flick the lever on, now this powered rail should be on, and what you will have to do now is head under each of these blocks that have a powered rail on it, and then place yourself a lever under one of these blocks. So I'm just going to choose this block right here, so place yourself a lever under this block, turn it on, and now both these powered rails should be turned on. So what you will have to do now is just do this with of course all of these railings and of course turn them on. That way the powered rails are turned on. And boom, once you've done that, all the powered rails should be turned on like this. So anyways, what you will have to do now is place yourself a magma block above pretty much all of these railings. So anyways, then you start in one of the corners and then you just build yourself a big magma block railing all above all the railings you've placed so far. Alright, so once you've done this, you should now have something that looks like this. So anyways, what you will have to do now is go into one of the corners of this magma block platform, place yourself out a temporary block, then place yourself a glass block or any form of building block going out from the temporary block, then break the temporary block, and what you will have to do now is build yourself a 1 block high wall going all around the outer part of this magma block platform. So if you don't fully understood what I just meant, what you will have to do is build something similar to what I'm doing right now. So what you should have now is something that looks like this. So anyways, once you've done that, what you will have to do now is fill up this entire platform with water sources. Now that may sound a bit difficult because what you're probably imagining is me placing a water bucket above all of these blocks. However, that is not what I mean, because if you don't know, there is a little trick to filling up a big area like this with water. The first is that you will have to pretty much just place water on one side, so all the water right here should now flow towards the middle, and then rotate yourself either to the left or to the right on the other side, and then place water on this opposite wall, and now all the water will pretty much just fill up and everything will become a full water source. And of course this is still going to require quite a few water buckets, because you will need 16 water buckets along this wall and then of course another 15 on this wall. So what I would recommend you do is of course have just 2 buckets with water and then create yourself an infinite water source. And the easiest way to do that is to break out a 2x2 hole into the ground, place 1 water source on each side, and now you have an infinite water source. But anyways, once you've done this, what you'll have to do now is do this 2 more times going upwards. So the first step is of course to just place glass blocks all around it, or expand the wall we have outside this farm by 1 more block going upwards. And then do the same thing we did with the water, so simply place water along one side of the wall, then do the same on the other side of the wall, and as you can see the water will now instantly fill up in the farm. And of course once that has happened, you will now have to do this 1 final time, so expand the wall by 1 more block going upwards, and then of course 1 final time fill up this wall with water and do the same water trick. And now we just have 1 final step and then the farm is ready, and that is to place yourself out a hopper minecart above one of these powered rails, and now the hopper minecart will be moving back and forth. So anyways guys, now the farm is actually fully done. And all we have now is 1 final step, and that is to find ourselves somewhere to stand AFK. Now some important things to know is that before the farm can start spawning glow inks, you will have to be at least 24 blocks away from the farm. This is of course because no mobs will really spawn in a 24 block sapphire around the player. So what I would recommend you do is just select one of the sides and then dig yourself for example into the wall, or if you're building this in a cave, just build yourself an AFK platform that's 24 blocks pretty much right above this glass, or you can of course just dig yourself into the wall and hide somewhere. Or if you're building this in a room like I've dug out, you can of course just head over the middle of this farm and dig yourself upwards 24 blocks. However, for the AFK room for this farm, I'm simply just gonna dig myself into this room about 22 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and since I'm now a little over 24 blocks away from the farm, I'm just gonna stand AFK here and glow squids will spawn.
A few moments later.
And of course what we can do is just quickly run back into the room, and as you can see lots of mobs have spawned right here because it's really dark in here, which I'm gonna explain in a minute. But if we look into the farm, as you can see some glow squids have died, and we have some glow ink sacks which the minecart should be picking up any moment now. Yeah, it has been, and once the minecart comes back here, it will stop here and offload all that glow ink. Now some important things to know is that we have some problems right here. I have a night vision effect right here. However, if I remove that, as you can see it is fully dark right there, and that is very important because if I light up this room, then the glow squids will not be able to spawn within the farm. However, we obviously have a problem of mobs spawning down here, which can 1 fill up the mob cap, allowing for squids not spawn, or it can simply be dangerous. So what I would recommend you do to prevent mobs from spawning right here is simply just to spawn proof this floor. Now there's a couple of ways to do that. You can, for example, remove this floor and replace it with glass. You can replace it with leaves, with shrubs, or even by placing a row of buttons above her. So if I, for example, place buttons above her like this, no mobs will be able to spawn her. Now as you can see, I've just replaced the floor with leaves, meaning we will end up getting a lot more spawns potentially in the farm, and the farm will just be a lot more safer. Anyways, what I can do now is just to run into this room, stand AFK over here, and now we can stand AFK here and get a bunch of glow inks.
A few moments later.
Alright, so I've just stood AFK for about 5 minutes. Let's check how the farm is working. So we've gotten even more glow inks right now. Let's look into the chest. So after about 5 minutes of standing AFK, we have almost 2 stacks of glow ink sacks. And I mean, that is pretty good for about a 5-6 minute AFK session. So anyways guys, that shows you alone how well this farm is, and that is how to build a very easy and very efficient glow ink sack farm in Minecraft. So anyways guys, that is it for this one, and yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about how this farm works or anything like that, feel free to leave them down below and try to answer your questions as quickly as possible. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.